So we've picked a few of the best questions from Twitter to ask the TNSFC chairman, Mike Harris.
Thank you.
We'll start with Wrexham Glyndŵr Futsal asked, TNS were the first Welsh futsal champions. Firstly, what are your thoughts on futsal, and would you consider entering the FAW Elite Futsal League?
Absolutely love futsal. It's a game I still try to play if my belly will allow me. The new infrastructure that we're building here will have five-a-side provision, and we'd love to hope that we'll be able to compete in that competition as well as the Welsh Premier and any other league that we enter. We obviously take football serious. I personally believe, whether it's my manager's view or not, that first team players could play futsal, and it possibly would improve their game based on the fact that the game is being played with constant possession on the ball. I like to see attractive football. And I'm not a football expert in terms of the textbook, but in my head I would say good technical ability on a five-a-side court is going to be, if you transport that to the 11-side pitch, that's the way that Barcelona's play, your Arsenal's play. That's the style of football, albeit TNS can't lavish the expense of your Messis, but that's the style of football our club tries to encourage. And we hopefully encourage the lads who play for us to take that concept and do the best that they can. So that's five-a-side would be something that we hope within the next 5 years we're hoping to be one of the leading clubs in the elite five-a-side competition.
Graham Dyke asked, what is your favourite moment or achievement with the football club?
I've got many. If you look at the road of success for Llanson Fried and Oswestry Town, both having their own separate successes in their own different eras, but as a club of Total Network Solutions, as a club of Llanson Fried, I've all got different memories for myself. I can't lay any claim to what happened within the Oswestry Town Club. They'd already ceased trading by the time that we got involved. But some of the proudest moments would be when we won the league in the 99-2000s year against what was then, without doubt, Barry Town, the best team that had, up to that point, been in this league. Great players. And for us then, as a semi-professional team, where we didn't exceed a weekly budget of £2,000. So in the payment stakes, I believe that we were about 8th in terms of highest paid club. But when we could win that title on the last day of the season at Connors Quay, because we'd played our game a couple of days earlier, and we only managed to draw at Ryder Town. So we thought it was going to be a formality, but Barry Town, albeit we were top of the league, only needed to win their last game to take the trophy back to South Wales. So the manager, the lads, myself, all had an evening out in Liverpool the night before to celebrate what we were believing was pushing a very good team to the limit and being in the reckoning on the last day of the season. Players were finding their way to the ground, and in fact, one of our players was just entering the ground, possibly not through the turnstile, but perhaps over a hedge, at the point where I believe Stuart Rain scored the first goal for Connors Quay. And I thought to myself, yeah, this is too much to hope for. But a very good crowd there. It was a three-way split. There was probably about 200 people from Llanson Fried. There was about 200 from Barry Town, and then there was about 200 neutral. So the Connors Quay ground was packed, all in the stand. Our players were all congregating in one central point, and I'm sitting there going, yeah, this is too good to be true. We're winning 1-0. Yeah, no doubt Barry will pull this back. The longer the game went on, and it stayed 1-0, half-time came and it went, and I'm thinking, well, is this too much to hope for? Can we? And more time went by. There was an injury. which the player was taken off the field of play, and it must have taken 10 minutes or whatever to get the player away. And the allocated time of 4:15 was coming nearer and nearer, and it was 1-0, and it looked like Barry were just pressing. It was just a matter of time before they scored. It became 4:30. And you're thinking, well, hang on, the game should now have ended. Even for the 10-minute delay for getting the player off, time continued to go. And we're thinking, hang on, if he blows the final whistle now, we're going to be champions. Wow, this is, we're starting to, but we're still realising that the referee is still playing a lot of allotted extra time. The radios are going. Next minute, you're starting to hear the results come in from the English Premier League, the English League One, English League Two. The game's still going. This is now half an hour after the game is supposedly supposed to have finished. Barry Town is still losing 1-0. And I think it may have been Stuart Rain again who popped up and scored to make it 2-0. And at that point, the penny dropped to say, we've just won the Welsh Premier League. I don't remember much after the second goal, other than leaving the ground. I can't remember much about that, even though we hadn't even had a drink. It was not it was one where the guy who was driving realised that when we were on the A55, we were on the A53, and we'd missed the turn in at Chester to come to Wrexham. And we were well on our way towards Manchester before we realised we were going the wrong way. But very, very proud moment. That was the first proud moment that the club, semi-professional, small budget. We were led to believe there was other clubs paying £3,500 a week in wages. So probably that was a very, very great achievement. And a lot of that thanks has to go to Andy Cale, who managed to motivate a group of lads to play out of their skin to overturn what was then an extremely good Barry Town team. And I can't praise Barry Town high enough, because they set the standard. They were the standard that we all had to try to beat. And they were great crown champions in their reign, but that gave us the momentum to push on. We paid the price the following season, and probably our position in the league, which I think we finished 8th, was probably reflected the size of the budget that we paid. So that's my first proudest and finest moment. From there, there's been many, many more. I mean, scoring the equaliser that same season against the Estonian champions to make it 2-2 at Wrexham in our first visit into the Champions League. Been very proud representing Wales on a consistent basis now since 2000, and every year being involved in European competition, whether it's the Champions League or the Europa League, is a very proud moment for me, the club, the officials around the club, because the president of the club, Mike Hughes, was with Lance and Fried. We've got Bill Jarman, who was the old chairman of Oswestry Town. They've all been welcomed into the fold. They've all got their place within the club, and they also still today continue to have their proud moments. So for me, those guys who had their association with the club in their own right, probably well before I was born, are still enjoying their football. For whatever reason that is, whether it's because football is in Oswestry, whether it's because they're proud that they were part of the formation of the Lance and Fried Football Club, which is still very much at the heart of this club, albeit we're a merged club. So a proud moment that the people who were involved with both clubs have been welcomed into the club, and today many of those fans have united under the one banner. And I've been led to believe by marketing and people in the town that it's 2 clubs, 1 town, which sounds quite nice. And hopefully we try to preserve the heritages of Oswestry Town, Lance and Fried, but together we're able to offer great facilities, from kids young adults, and adults. We've got probably about 40 to 50 people that work between the two companies, and that again gives proud moments. We've built something. It's not just been myself, there's a lot of other people that have contributed into the club, but I perhaps won't blow my trumpet too hard, but I had a plan. And that plan, slowly but surely, is starting to unfold. It would be nice to have achieved it all in 5 years. The football club was a great vehicle for the promotion of one of my businesses. The football club proudly wore its name, Total Network Solutions, which perhaps many guys who were just in it for business would have left the football scene at the point of exit when the company was sold to BT. I think that would have been disingenuous to the football club. I think that would have been disingenuous to the people who trusted me to run their football club and to, under the guise that it must be able to compete at the highest level that it can achieve. So, after the sponsorship, we get to the point where we are today. How does a football club continue to grow, continue to strive with the best players, the best development, the best youth system, the most entertaining football? How do we do that and make it commercially break even or make a profit? The things that we put in place, we have a trading business now, trades 365 days a year. We might have Christmas Day off, here and there, but ultimately the football club is open for business 7 days a week. We have engagement with families who bring their children in the mornings. We'll have adults hiring the place either for business meetings, football functions, team development, business development, parties, weddings, christenings, birthdays, wakes. All those people use the football club in the hub of its community. And we're able to provide them a service, and in return that service generates a profit. That profit then is 100% put back into the football team. And that leads me on to another proud moment, is that we've taken a business that was turning over 40,000 as a village football team, with a proud history of winning the Welsh Cup with no help from myself, and then with some help from my company we won the league. We've taken that business, which was then turning over between 40 and 80,000 pounds a year. Today we turn over 1.3 million. We have a full-time football team. We have 147 children in the academy. We have 45 to 50 young adults between 16 and 19 are in full-time education and playing football as part of their education provision. We have a growing ladies following. We now have ladies teams at multiple age groups with a very successful ladies team. But ultimately, the football club is the heart to everything that we do. And it's very proud to state, well, yes, we've grown a business, we employ people on non-football side, so off-pitch, to probably 20, 25 people have got full-time employment through the fact that the football club exists. Now that may be serving coffee and tea. That may be in marketing and promotion. But without that, I'd have to say, well, where would they work? I'm not saying we're the only employer in town, but again, we provide a very, very, very diverse range of jobs where people can get a grounding at ground level and progress their careers in media, they can progress in marketing, sales, or if they want a job, which there are jobs. Again, I'm not prescriptive about who does what, but ultimately it's a platform for them to start their careers or develop their careers. And I'm very proud to say that in the 20 years I've been in business, I can see many people who perhaps now don't work for myself, but work in other places, who are at the top of their careers. but they started somewhere within one of my organisations. And that's very proud when you see what they've achieved. Today, through the communications business, people are working at Cisco, earning some great salaries, people leading commercial businesses in anything from alcohol retail and through to food retail, and running their own businesses, and very successful at it. But when we catch up from time to time, we all talk about the times where we started from. So that again is a proud moment. The football club is continuing to do those type of things. Many other proud moments. The first time we won a competitive game in Europe was great. The fact that we went out afterwards on away goals was perhaps disappointing, but it showed us that we could do it. Another very proud moment was the semi-final of what was then the Premier Cup. And I'm sure people will be able to roll the papers out. And Ken McKenna, my manager at the time, was very vocal at the time. I made an interview that said, if Cardiff City don't play their first team, we will win the game. And Cardiff City played 4, 5, possibly 6 of their first team players, and they lost 1-0. Against what, in my mind, was a game which should have been easier won. We had 2 blatant penalties that the referee missed, which, hey, stuff happens. But at Ninian Park, we were the best team. They didn't get a shot on goal till the 80th minute. And we were a team from the League of Wales, or Welsh Premier, as it had started to become known then. And we went on to win the game away from home. They wouldn't let us play at home. We had to play Newport County in the final. Again, we won the competition, which we weren't expected to, but that was probably the wake-up call that people started to realise that we weren't just a team from the Welsh Premier. We were a team in the Welsh Premier that was striving to get better, set standards, hopefully for other clubs to aspire to. We've got no right to be top of the league. We're a team that tries our best. Other clubs started in a far more favourable position than us. They had bigger, perhaps, historical fan bases, expectation that they should be, but no club can have an expectation to say that they should be bottom or middle or top. It's what you do off the field creates the environment for your manager of the team to attract and then condition those players to use their talent in the best possible way for your club. I remember back in 99 when we were struggling at the bottom of the league, to try and attract a player to try and enhance our squad was very difficult. Today I'd like to think if we approach a player that we're interested in, that player will hopefully see us as an opportunity for them. So again, that's taken a lot of hard work. That door is open for every other club in this league. It's open to every football club in Wales. Whether today they're in the lowest bottom rung of football, they should aspire to be at the very top. There should never be any closed club. There always should be relegation. There should always be promotion. The leading club should always set standards that other clubs aspire to achieve and go beyond. And hopefully what we've achieved in, last season, when we've taken the record from Barrytown, and it's taken us 15 years to do that, but we now set a new standard. 8 times champions, undisputedly the best team that plays in Wales. Not one of the best, we are now the best team. But that actually gives us a bigger mountain. We've got to now live up to what does the biggest team in the Welsh Premier mean? It means that every club that we play against wants to beat us. It means that sometimes we go and play away from home and teams set up as though they're playing away from home. They don't want to come out of their own half, which makes the game very difficult. But, hey, we set the standard. My manager has to find ways to unlock that door and set new standards. We want to continue setting standards. We want to take the game in Wales. We want to be the flagship for Wales. We want to take it into the Champions League. We want to take it into the group stages of Europa or group. Now, I can't guarantee that we will do it, but we'll have a hell of a good go at doing it. We are constantly working and striving, and if you know, again, in 2000, we would have to set up to try to avoid an embarrassment. So, a 4 or a 5-0 beating in Europe 10 years ago may have been seen as, whew, got away with that. Today, we enter the competition where there's an expectation on a good day that we will surprise people. And that surprise is starting to happen. 1-0 up against Legia Warsaw, hit the post, could have been 2. I still believe that their equalising goal stemmed from a free kick that we should have had near their penalty area. And, hey, shit happens. You know, and decisions go against you, and sometimes the establishment of football, when you're in the establishment, sometimes decisions go your way. That's just the way of the game. But as we're narrowing that gap, I can now dare say to people openly, our ambition is to be in the group stages of one of those 2 competitions in Europe. I sat with 2 of my players in 1999, I'll name a name, Danny Barton and Gary Evans. We sat outside a pub in Oswald Street, and I dare say to them, "Want to win the league and play in the Champions League?" They laughed at me. The following season we won the league. And I remind Gary every time I see him, do you remember when we sat outside the pub? I said, I didn't dare tell you at that point that I had desires to play in the group stages, because I think you'd have gone, shall we get him committed and take him away in a white coat? But hopefully, we're now been very close in achieving the Europa League qualification about 3 years ago. A narrow defeat in the knockout round, which we competed. We weren't outclassed, we were just beaten on the day, which, hey, that's a long way from where we were 10 years ago. I'm hoping that as we continue to narrow that gap, and as we continue to build the technical ability of our players linked with fitness and desire, we're going to close that gap further to the point where we may be still regarded as the underdog, but in reality we know that we're going to win that game, or at least it'll be the rub of the green that is the difference between the 2 teams. I don't think that we're ever going to be able to, in the near future, be able to suggest that the Lionel Messis or the Ronaldos are going to grace the field of Oswald Street for our club, because the economics of a small national league just don't make that provision. The English Premier League, the Spanish Premier League, the German Premier League are always going to get the first slice of the best marketed players. But I'm still a big believer in human endeavour. I don't believe that those are the only individuals in the world that can play football. I also think that there's many individuals who get overlooked. It's a game of subjectiveness. Managers overlook one player because he picks his mate, or doesn't really want to go and look at that player, or that player's on contract, can't bring that one in. So there's many reasons why a player may not be noticed. And what my management team has continually been successful at doing, whether that was under Andy Cale, Ken McKenna, Carl and Craig as now, and Mike Davies, has always been to try and spot those overlooked players, or ones that possibly have fallen by the wayside a bit. They may have had family problems, they may have had personal problems, and go, well, hang on, that doesn't make them a bad person. Even though we have discipline and expectation in the club, and over years, some of my best players have been on the wrong side of the TNS discipline. My best player, my good friend Steve Evans, you know, a number of times we've had run it, but ultimately as a club, we have one principle first. The club's first, the player we respect, but ultimately we won't tolerate bad behaviour. And you know, we won't sweep it under the carpet, we'll address it. But ultimately that sets standards. those players, which we inspire to move on because clubs want them, which now we've had a few that have gone on. Craig Jones. Craig, through full-time football, playing with his colleagues, who obviously enabled him to display the talent that interested Leeds United. Nearly got a contract there, but at the game, Bury Town saw him, and he's made his way there. And I believe that, as much as I haven't seen him play live, I get reports that he's doing extremely well. And that, again, is a proud moment. And I hope that as Craig continues to develop, he's always going to be welcome at the club. He can always pop in if he's passing. He'll always be. But that goes for all the players that have been at our club. Some have gone on to continue to play football. Others have gone on to have careers on their own, in their own right. You know, one of the longest-serving, loveliest guys that we've ever had, and it was one of the saddest days when he had to go, was Tommy Holmes. I remember the day we signed Tommy back in 99, 2000, and the smile on his face, but he'd got a contract to play for what was then Total Network Solutions, and every day he came in to play football, he was saying, "I don't want a job. This is my job. I love it. This is, you know." So bringing a smile to his face. And there's many guys who've been in this football club for a short time or a long time. They're always welcome back at the club, and we regularly see them popping in. And at the point player aspect, it's always a sad time. But also, all we can do is say, well, while you were here, thank you for bringing us the success. Thank you for using your skills. Thank you for helping make this club successful in the era that they play. And hopefully, the guys that are taking on the shirt from yourself will at least be able to achieve the standard that you did, and hopefully take it on to the next generation. And that, again, is reflection on proud moments. I think that the club has got potential to continue to lead the light, but we're always open to competition. And as I've always said, if we could no longer sustain being the lead in life, hey, we'll try. We'll keep trying and keep trying and keep trying. And if you look at our past, we haven't won the league every year. We've lost it to a number of clubs on different occasions. But what we have put in place is a plan that says, well, okay, we're not going to just go out and spend money just to try and... But what we have is a system that works year on, year on, year on, year on. And in fact, it fails on one year, the club can be in a position to continue to do the same thing next year. And my good friend, the chairman of Llanelli Town, admitted, we used to regularly have conversations on the phone, and how do you do this? And I shared lots of ideas of what we were doing, and some he installed. He's always said back to the reason why I won't put any more money into the club. He says, I know that I can win it for one season by bringing in all these players, bringing in all this cost. He said, I would then have to try and throttle back that cost. He says, I know you bastard. He said, you'd be there just doing the same again. I wouldn't be able to throttle back my costs. So he says, that's why I've chosen not to go to the next stage and go full time, or he couldn't work his business plan to give that sustainable 2-3 years of not winning the league, but still putting out a competitive team. But you know, I wish Llanelli all the best now. And again, it's I feel sorry for what happened there. It was external situations outside football, but ultimately, Nitin's a very, very credible character, very, very lovely man, and also Llanelli Town. We hope that they'll be back in the World Premier soon. So I think I've probably touched on as many proudest moments as I can, and I hopefully haven't waffled on too much for you.
You mentioned Bury Town earlier. They asked, Stand Up for Bury Town asked, when TNS changed their name from Total Network Solutions to the New Saints, were there any other names considered?
there were many names that were thrown in. Some were